Been living most our lives in a tax collector's paradise. No rules of sacrifice in a tax collector's paradise. Security wearing khakis, sporting 9 millis. Bureaucrats behind the offices being kind of chilly. They do what they want. They record what they please. But if you come in with a camera, they say, "Ninja, please." Been spending most our lives living in tax collector's paradise. No rules of sacrifice in tax collector's paradise. What is up, everybody? How's it going? How's it swinging? How's it flapping? How's it dragging? Good, I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, this is part 5, I believe. I will be cross-examining Tim Couet. So will Samuel Boundy, the county attorney. And we got, what do you call it? Unbiased magistrate Matthew Maggard. Yeah. So this is the second head of the beast. Mike Fasano's the elected tax collector. He's the guy right under him. That's his boy. He makes about $160,000 a year, and he did all this. He creates all these unconstitutional signs. He does everything that brought us to this point, and he still thinks he's justified in just creating policy out of thin air. But enough of me blabbing. Let's get to the woody hoo-hoo of the foo-foo.
You previously been sworn?
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your name?
Timothy Couet.
And where are you employed, Mr. Couet?
I'm employed by the Pasco County Tax Collector's Office.
And what is your position with the Pasco County Tax Collector's Office?
I am the Chief Deputy Tax Collector.
In the Pasco County Tax Collector's Office, that is the terminology you use, that it is an office.
Yes, sir.
So as the Chief Deputy Tax Collector, what are your general duties and responsibilities?
Generally speaking, I am what would be considered the second in command of the office, just below the elected official, Mike Fasano. I'm in charge of all the different departments, the directors and all of their duties, the operations, pretty much the entire organization, hand in hand with Mr. Fasano.
How many physical offices in Pasco County?
We have 6 physical offices, 5 of them being serving the public frontline offices.
So you oversee the operations of all of those offices?
Yes, sir.
And just in general, for the record, what is the tax collector's office? What do you do?
The tax collector's office main duty is to collect property taxes. We do that in a multitude of different ways, but with the collection agency for the county. Secondarily, we have different agreements as agents of different state agencies, such as the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicle. We have one with the Department of Agricultural and Consumer Services. We have ones with the Department of Revenue. Multiple ones as the Tallahassee state has decided to decentralize some of that in Tallahassee and push it to local government.
So essentially, there's not a DMV someone can go to in Pasco County. They go to your offices for those services?
Yes, sir.
And same as those other agreements you mentioned?
Yes, sir.
So could you give kind of a brief description of some of the services that citizens might come into your office for?
Literally hundreds of different transactions they can do with us. But as general DMV, things that they need to do, such as renewing their registration, getting their driver license, doing title work, boat registrations, the list goes on and on, coming in to pay their taxes. I would say those are the bulk of the duties that we do are for concealed weapon permits and for collecting taxes and doing DMV work.
Through doing business in the county, has your office found it necessary to adopt a video and recording policy?
Yes, sir.
And why did your office find it necessary to adopt such a policy?
Primarily due to the need to continue business.
Okay, why don't you come on back? You're one of the good guys. Come back here.
Yeah, so here's the new policy written up. So yeah, feel free to have that. That was literally put in play today. I mean, for all intents and purposes of disrupting business and torturous interference in a business operation, okay, come on, man. And how do you, it's so hard to prove intent, right? When it comes down to the law, like, what's he intending to do with that? But, anyway, this is actually, that was, I didn't tell him because I didn't want to tell him. Manatee County dealt with a similar guy. And Manatee County put this in place, and this is right on Manatee County Tax Collector's website.
Okay.
As well. So they drew it up with their attorneys. We just literally took it, ran it through our paralegal, and
Yeah, decided if it worked for them, probably good for you guys.
ran it to their paralegal. So again, I just sent it over to Lindsay Moore as well, so that
Okay.
in the office, we have found that it can be disruptive for people to interrupt with business operations while they're video recording. Secondarily, we have a duty to maintain people's privacy, very similar to the Social Security Administration. We deal with Social Security numbers. We deal with driver license numbers. We deal with title numbers. And the burden falls on us to make sure that those are kept private and those are kept confidential. And so we have multiple measures in our office to make sure that that does happen. And this policy speaks to one of those measures.
So those confidential records that you deal with every day, you are actually prohibited by federal law from disclosing those, is that correct?
That is correct.
And could you summarize for the hearing officer what the tax collector's office policy is when it comes to video recording?
Yes, sir. So, in general, the policy, it prohibits video recording that interferes or disrupts business or gets to the point where it's going to potentially jeopardize somebody's personal information. We put a process in place where if somebody in the free press would like to come and do any type of video recording, we will make sure that happens, and we will have to plan accordingly. Due to the fact we see 50 to 60,000 people in our offices, and it's a constant turnover, it is very prudent of us, in my opinion, to make sure that we have a pathway for people to come in and video record for free press purposes, but it must be planned in order for us to uphold our side of keeping people's information private and keeping the business transacting.
So in addition to maintaining orderly business of the office, you've adopted the policy in part to assist you in complying with federal law, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified essentially the policy requires prior approval before somebody can record in your office, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does your policy allow video recording outside the four walls of the office?
It does.
Is that restricted in any manner?
I believe it's 200 feet is what the policy speaks to, and that's for the safety of the individual recording, since operations extend outside of our four walls when we come to road testing, administering road tests for people trying to get their driver license.
And do you make that full policy available for members of the public to view?
Yes, sir.
Where can they view it?
They can view it online on our website, or it is also posted in our offices.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's pre-marked for identification purposes. This county's Exhibit F. If you could just take a look at that. Do you recognize that?
I do, sir.
And what is it?
This is our video photography and recording policy.
Okay. At this time, the county would seek to introduce Exhibit F into evidence as we're up to 6. 5.
This would be admitted as county 6.
Okay. So you testified that that policy is available online as well as posted in your office?
Yes, sir.
Would that policy have been posted in your office inside your lobby in Land O'Lakes on May 31st of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Do you also have a sign in the exterior of your office that is a shortened recitation of the policy?
Yes, sir.
And is that to put members of the public on notice as they're coming into the building?
Yes, sir. The goal of that is to make sure that the public understands that we're going to make every effort possible possible to make sure we're keeping their information private.
Show you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes as County Exhibit G. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is that?
This is our posted policy outside of our office preventing photography, video, and audio recording.
Okay, and is that the policy as it would have been posted and appeared that day?
I believe so, yes.
The county would seek to move Exhibit G into evidence as Exhibit 7.
I'm gonna be with this count 7.
And Mr. Flynn was asking questions. That sign that's outside your office, you've changed the language since that date, May 31st?
Yes, sir.
But the version that was posted on that day, the version that's in evidence, that actually cites to USC 2721, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And is that the federal statute you referenced earlier that prohibits the release of certain personal information?
Yes, that's the Driver License Privacy and Protection Act, sir.
And this is the type of information that you referenced that your office deals with on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
So the policy that you had in place at that time and still have in place today, as you testified already, was it in part to help you, assist you in complying with that statute?
It was, yes.
Okay, and the appellant in this case, Mr. Filax, are you familiar with him?
I am sure, yes.
When did you first become familiar with him?
Mr. Filax and I had a brief interaction before the May 30th date in order for him to attempt to serve me with some paperwork as a cease and desist order regarding an associated business for Hoffman and some of his efforts in recording, or trying to record in our office and recording for that matter.
So that prior occasion with Mr. Filax, that was in your office?
Yes, it began outside of the doors of our office and then moved into our lobby. It was very brief.
And the video recording within your office by certain individuals, had it been an ongoing issue prior to May 30th of 2023?
It's actually been an issue for quite a few years off and on, sir.
I want to draw your attention to that date, to May 30th. How and when did you first learn that there was an incident?
I was returning from lunch at approximately 1:30, I think it was 1:35, 1:38, somewhere in there. I received a call from one of our supervisors, Harrison Flynn. He then informed me that the video recorders were back in our office recording.
So you returned to the office upon receiving that information?
Yes, sir. I was literally 2 minutes away.
And when you returned to the office, what are your observations?
When I returned to the office, I went out into the common area to confirm what Mr. Harrison Flynn had told me. And then after confirming that the two gentlemen were there, Mr. Hubbard and Mr. Felix, I then went back to my office and after interacting, I believe I may have either called Mr. Flynn or Deborah and just confirmed a couple things, making sure that our office had ceased doing operations to make sure we keep everyone's information private and protected. And then I proceeded to, at my desk, using our video recording system to take a look and see whether or not business was being disrupted, and it indeed was.
Okay. So both on your in-person observations in the lobby as well as some video surveillance, were you able to observe that Mr. Felix was recording?
Yes.
And based on what you observed, did those actions constitute a violation of your video recording policy that is posted at the office?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that it disrupted business operations that day. How so?
It disrupted business operations with our gatekeeper from ingress and egress in and out of those spaces in the office. And also, anytime a video recording device is presented very close to even a potential, private or personal information, our policy is to cease business in order to make sure that that information is not compromised.
So based on what you had observed up until that point, did you ultimately call the Pasco Sheriff's Office to initiate a public trespass proceeding?
I did, sir.
And did deputies from the Sheriff's Office arrive at your Wingo Lakes location?
They did, sir.
And as part of that process, did you give them a formal letter of trespass?
I did.
Was that letter intended to initiate a public trespass proceeding?
It was, sir.
And the decision to request that trespass, was that based on the fact that there had been disruption to business that day, as well as prior interactions with the appellant with video recording?
Yes, sir.
And was it based on the harm suffered to the tax collector's office as a result of his actions?
Yes, sir.
Couet, I'm going to approach you with what's been marked for identification purposes as County's Exhibit H. Do you recognize that?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
I'm sorry, sir.
How do you recognize it?
This is the document I produced in order to present to the deputies to have Mr. Filax trespass that day.
And this is, to be clear, separate from the formal trespass warning that the Sheriff's Office actually issues. This is a letter you get to initiate that process.
That is correct, sir.
At this time, the county would seek to introduce Exhibit H in evidence as Exhibit 8.
This week is county's aim.
Did you also give a written and verbal statement to the deputies?
I did, sir.
And did you advise them that the appellant had violated your posted policy and that you requested them to issue a trespass warrant?
Yes, sir.
No further questions from the county?
Mr. Couet, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Not so good. I feel like my rights were violated, but that's neither here nor there. Did you swear an oath to the Constitution when you took this job?
Yes.
Do you believe that any and all policies created by the tax collector's office have to be constitutional first and foremost?
All policies in the land should be, sir.
I cannot hear you.
I'm sorry. I believe all policies in the land should fall under that.
So you're saying all policies in this country should be constitutional?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know the 5 elements of the First Amendment?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the 5 elements of the First Amendment?
Not off the top.
Do you know any of them?
Sure.
Can you name one?
And freedom of speech,
Speech,
press, freedom of assembly.
press, assembly, okay. Religion,
Absolutely. Sir.
right to redress, government is the 5th one. You agree with that?
I'm not in a position to say whether I do or not at the moment. I do support the Constitution, however.
How do you know me?
Our first interaction, I don't remember the date, sir, but you came and asked for me specifically to serve me with a cease and desist order based on actions of your associate, Mr. Huffman.
Well, it's not my associate, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it was on his behalf then. So I apologize. If I didn't.
Well, it's on everyone's behalf, the Constitution and the people. That's why I was serving the order.
It was addressed to him, though, right?
No, it was addressed to you.
I'm sorry, but it was based on the actions of him, yes, sir?
It was based on your actions.
In interacting with him,
Well, you trespassed someone for recording in public.
okay?
Okay, did I provide relevant case law and a cease and desist order to you?
I'm not an attorney, sir.
Did I provide a cease and desist letter to you?
You did.
What are some of the things that were in there?
I don't recall, sir.
Did you read the cease? Sorry?
Objects are relevant. He's asking about a prior day of a letter that he delivered. It's really got nothing to do with the trespass warning that was issued on May 30th.
The reason I was given the cease and desist order to him was because he trespassed a journalist.
Or how does that relate to what we're here today?
Well, okay, you want to move past the cease and desist order, but you acknowledge I gave you that.
Yes, sir.
Was I recording that day?
You had a recording device on you. Whether or not you were recording, I do not know.
Was it blinking?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you trespass me that day?
No, sir.
Why didn't you trespass me that day for recording?
No disruption of business, sir.
I didn't disrupt business that day?
You did not.
Did I stand in the same exact spot as I did last time?
What time are you referring to?
When I served the cease and desist order,
Yes, sir.
was I standing next to the gatekeeper just like I was when I was trespassed?
The current time? The May
When I
30th
served the
event?
cease and desist order, was I not standing in the exact same place as on May 30th?
I don't recall.
Where
sir.
was I standing?
You were near the gatekeeper. I don't know if it was the exact place. Sir.
Did we speak on the phone that day?
I don't recall if we did.
Did I not call you and ask you to come and have a few minutes with me? I wanted to talk about your video recording policy.
I don't recall. I get a lot of phone calls. I do with a lot of people every day, sir.
And you did come and talk to me
I certainly remember.
with
that.
several of these guys. Who are the guys with the khaki pants and black shirts? What are they?
They're safety agents, sir.
Is that like security?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are they armed?
Yes, sir.
Oh, they are armed with,
Yes, sir.
with lethal?
Yes, sir.
So they're armed with lethal firearms.
Yes, sir. As revenue officers, sir.
Okay, I had no idea. They're not open carrying, correct?
Of course not. That's not legal
What's not legal, sir?
to open carry.
Are you making a legal conclusion?
To my knowledge, yeah.
Is it legal to open carry if you own a pawn shop?
Object irrelevance.
He's claiming open carry is not legal, and that's why they conceal their weapons.
It's not relevant to what we're here today.
Well, the relevance is that they have ability to use lethal force against me, which I had no clue.
I don't think there's any testimony of that.
Okay. Okay. Cease and desist. On the day we came into your tax collector's office, how many of us were there?
Which day are you referring to, sir?
May 30th.
There were, I believe, 2 people to my knowledge.
And who are those people? Are they both here?
I did see Mr. Huffman. He is here, and it was you, sir, as
Is
well.
Mr. Huffman the gentleman that looks like a caveman over there with the big beard?
Yes, he's the one there reported.
Was this sign on your door, this Exhibit G? Was this sign on your door that day?
I believe it was, sir.
Can you read the first line, right?
You are now entering a private area.
So is the tax collector's office a private area?
I'm not an attorney, sir. I can't answer that question.
Well, who made the sign?
That sign was created by a former attorney in our office.
A former attorney created the sign.
He had been created. He wrote the policy that created it.
And who created it?
A former attorney.
And who made the sign and put it on the front door?
A company that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact
Is the public lobby a public place or a private place?
That's a legal question, sir. I can't answer that.
Is the general public allowed in the public lobby?
Yes, sir.
So it's open to the public.
Yes, sir.
It is a public lobby.
Depends on what you define as a public
A
lobby.
place where the general public is allowed to be.
Sir, again, I'm not an attorney. I cannot answer the question of whether or not that is a fully public lobby based on the...
Is the general public allowed to go inside that public lobby?
He's already had an answer.
He doesn't know?
No, he said yes.
Oh, yes, the general public is allowed.
Yes.
So it's not a private area as it says on your sign.
Yes, sir. That's a question. That's a legal question. I do not have the ability to answer that. I'm not an attorney.
Am I understanding this right, sir? Because he's saying it's public, but the first line here says it's private. This is one of many discrepancies.
Would you like me to just provide clarification?
Sure.
So whether or not an individual can enter into a public area and whether or not that area is fully public are 2 different things based on our burden to have to keep certain things private from the public, such as social security numbers, driver licenses, things of the sort that we fall under the burden of the Driver License Privacy Protection Act to make sure that that is not compromised to other people in the office.
Does that answer your question?
So it's not a private, the public lobby is not a private area.
Is that a question?
Is the public lobby a private area?
I can't answer that question, sir. I told you that is a legal argument to be
Mr.
had.
Mayor, the county stipulates, the sign says you're entering a private area. As to the rights of the public and to what extent is it a public forum, is it not, I have to object that this witness is not an attorney. You really can't comment on that.
Do you stop everyone from coming into that private area?
We have on occasion, sir, yes.
You stop every person of the general public to enter the front doors of this private area.
We have in the past, sir, in certain
You stop
circumstances.
everybody.
Yes, sir.
Well, for what reason?
During the times of COVID, we did
Okay.
stop everybody coming into that area.
Outside of a pandemic, have you ever stopped all the public from coming in that private area?
All the public, no, sir.
So how do you choose who gets to come in and who doesn't enter this private area?
Based on their conduct and based on our policies.
Based on their conduct. So basically, any citizen can walk in there. There's no metal detectors. There's no security guard, right?
We certainly have security agents, safety
There's
agents.
no security guard manning the front door.
Not all the time, but typically we do have
So
some.
do you have a security guard wanding?
No, sir.
Metal detector?
No, sir.
Is there any x-ray?
No, sir.
So anyone from the general public can walk in there as long as they're not screaming, yelling, disruptive, doing anything illegal, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Is this sign still on your front door?
It is not, sir.
Why was it taken down?
Because we felt it to be more relevant to impress to the public that we're more concerned about their private information and our responsibility to make sure that we protect it.
And who's the onus on to protect private information?
It is on us.
The onus is on you, correct?
Yes, under the Driver License Privacy Protection Act.
Correct.
The onus is on us.
So do you believe the Driver's License Privacy Protection Act has nothing to do with the general public? The general public it has nothing to do with the general public recording in public. The onus is on you to keep secure the information in the motor vehicle database.
Yes, and the actions that we have to take to make sure that happens.
But the actions cannot violate somebody's constitutional rights, can they?
Not an attorney, sir.
So you don't know any constitutional rights and how they're applied.
I do, but I'm not an attorney to speak to that.
Generally speaking, have you read the Constitution?
Yes, sir.
Generally speaking, you understand what free speech is and assembly?
Probably in generalities, yes.
And generally you understand what free press is?
Generally, yes.
Okay, and you say the onus is on you to keep that information private under the DPPA.
In the narrow scope of the DPPA, yes.
Right. It's not for me to keep that information private.
It is our responsibility to make sure that information is kept private.
Right. It's your responsibility. So you just built that building not too long ago, correct?
That building has been there since, I believe, 2000 and, actually it was built, I believe, in the 90s. That used to be the old health department.
So was it like refurbished or something?
It used to be the old health department. We did refurbish it, and the county gave us the building. And
How much money went into that?
Operation.
Objection relevance.
Yeah, more sustaining that on the relevance to.
Okay. Who designed the building?
Objection relevance.
The relevance is the big issue in that public lobby is that the public's far too close to where interactions are taking place, and they could take steps to protect private information. Since the onus is on them, they could take architectural steps, put up a wall, make the glass a certain way. There's at least 100 ways. You know, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. There's 100 ways to keep that information private without literally calling the police on a person engaged in free press. That's the relevance. And that's why I asked about the building being remodeled.
Okay.
Was constitutional concerns put into the thought when it was being refurbished?
We hired an architect, sir, to go ahead and do that. I'm sure they follow all relevant law. I do not know.
Right, they follow architectural laws. Did you tell them that you need the place to have a semi-private area so we can protect the information of the general public?
I don't recall.
Do you?
I was not involved in the renovation.
You were not involved, okay. Would you say, have you talked to anybody on the phone or anybody in person who told you, or you have told to, that it's an architectural issue more than anything?
No, sir.
Okay, do you see the architectural issue?
No, sir.
How far away are the chairs from people conducting their business?
I can give you an exact measurement, sir.
Approximately.
I don't know, 10, 15 feet.
Are there some within 10 feet?
I don't know exactly, sir.
Right, not exactly, approximately.
I could agree with that.
Is that within earshot?
Yes, I would agree with that. sir.
Okay, so am I allowed in there with a pen and paper?
Yes, sir.
Now, somebody, one of your clerks is taking information from the motor vehicle database and they recite it to the customer. What's keeping me from writing it down?
Nothing, sir, but that's not our policy.
I'm sorry. What's keeping me from writing it down?
Nothing, sir.
What's keeping me from having a photographic memory?
Nothing, sir.
So if I all right, so a half hour is enough, man. I've been editing this video for so long, and it's still like another half hour plus to go. We're gonna wrap that up for part 5 or whatever it is. I hope you liked it. There's your boy Tim Couet. This was what he's about. He's willing to go to court over and over and over for this. He just thinks it's part of the job. Just keep people out, restrict one specific freedom over the others, and then just go to court and like basically cosplayin, but deputy tax collector explain it. Anyway, I hope you like this one. Uh, consider donating my legal fund. I'm still short about a G. So much love. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Bye.